Serious, what screams stay the duck away from that person? And you feel yourself censoring what you say and do to avoid making them angry. Duck yes. I hate walking on eggshells when talking to someone. I just realized many of my friends are like this. Duck. Constantly going off about trivial things within an inappropriately aggressive angry manner that makes you feel like if you say the wrong thing they'll do the same to you. Not just a complaint here and there or an amusing rant but a real, scary kind of anger. This makes me nervous because I like to do these really long overdramatic rants, usually during work times for boring classes, about things that I don't actually feel that strongly about, but complain about it in a super dramatic manner that is meant to be funny. Like it's almost like the idea of having such a strong opinion is the basis of the joke that just goes on and some people get it and think it's funny like me, but others just think I'm being genuine and try to explain why someone would disagree. Like no my dude, I understand. It's just for the funnies. IDK if this is the type of thing you are talking about or not, but it's just my side of a similar situation. I think you're fine. I do the exact same thing and it's the crux of why Seinfeld became so successful and popular. If someone talks to you about how shitty they are as a person, you should believe them, even if they seem nice and friendly to you. Also, if you see someone be shitty to someone else, they will eventually be shitty to you. Source. I'm kind of a ducked up person. A friend that cut contact with me for no reason a few weeks later. I'm actually a piece of shit. A friend that was nice to begin with, but slowly became more and more toxic and condescending the longer I knew him. I can be pretty manipulative sometimes. Someone who ended up manipulating me. The I'm kind of a ducked up person one sounds like someone who doesn't want to be a burden on others for all the wrong reasons and cuts contact when they get too close to someone because they think it's better than their shit spilling over onto your plate. You described me. Lack of self-awareness. For example, can pontificate to you about how important it is to be nice to people working at restaurants, proceeds to be incredibly rude to someone working at a restaurant that same day. Sorry if I seem rude by correcting you, but do you mean lack of self-awareness? I think you make a really good point. So it seemed worth it to suggest a change that might help clarify your meaning. Yes, I did mean that. Edited. Lack of empathy. Mocking or belittling you in any way. Constant need to flaunt knowledge of something. This usually sets the stage for toxicity later. Life is too short to have these folks in your life. My entire friendship group exists around ragging on each other. Yeah, lots of friends are like that. Especially guys. You have to remember that not everyone on Reddit is very good with social interaction. And some can't differentiate between banter and bullying. The upvoted comments on here aren't always reasonable. Don't ignore if someone happens to make really creepy or too far comments. Back in college I was hanging out with a few people and one chick I knew fell asleep on the couch. This one guy that no one there really knew started staring at her a tad too long and remarked to me she's so cute when she's sleeping without looking away. I made damn sure to keep an eye on him until he left. He was expelled from campus a couple weeks later for multiple counts of sexual assault. I was in theater in high school and we were rehearsing a play after school. I was laying on a couch we had backstage since my part wasn't coming up for a while and I had just closed my eyes. A minute or so later I hear someone whisper "You're pretty when you're sleeping." I was scared so I opened my eyes and saw some kid I had never seen before. He saw that I was awake and ran off. It was his first day at that school so that was my first impression of him. He turned out to be one of the creepiest people I've ever met. He lied constantly and had insane anger issues. I have almost the exact same story but reversed. Was at a uni house party and we'd all crashed in separate rooms wherever we could. Went to wake one of my friends up in the morning. Was told she was on the upstairs sofa. Thought it would be funny to creep her out. All I could see was hair that looked like hers sticking out from underneath a sleeping bag. Proceeded to stroke it and try impersonate Gollum's Precious. Complete ducking. Stranger pulls the sleeping bag down. I scream. She screams. I trip over the inflatable bed behind me. Good times were not had that morning. If they're cruel to animals or if they don't teach their children to be kind to animals. This is a well-known pattern in the lives of serial killers. Not that everyone cruel to animals will become a serial killer, but every serial killer has a history of animal abuse. This is a well-known pattern in the lives of serial killers and people who abuse children and their romantic partners. The girls who don't like girls because they're too much drama. Chances are she's drama. Had a friend like this, talking about how girls are always dramatic and she hates drama, but she caused it in subtle ways, and for the most part, if something was dramatic but tolerable, she would blow it out of proportion. We are no longer friends. She has serious issues and I hope, for her sake, she gets it figured out. Damn, I'm only like 20 threads deep and I think I should cut myself off from all my friends. This thread has taught me avoid people who do things like that. I'm the opposite. These threads make me really insecure. And they try too hard to force a relationship with you, instead of allowing it to grow. When a stranger does this, and it's on a short time scale, minutes, maybe hours, it's called forced teaming. And it can be the sign of a genuine predator. If so, they're probably going to try to get you to go with them to a private location, where they feel more comfortable doing whatever awful thing they were planning on the first place. These people will also ignore your nose, often trying to be charming or nice to cover up the fact that they're ignoring your wishes. When acquaintances, people you meet at work, etc., do this, invite you to too many things, share personal stories before it's appropriate, etc., I generally find it's a sign of someone with unstable emotions and poor boundaries. This person is desperate for connection, and they end up glomming onto anyone they can get their tentacles on. A person like this can suck you dry if you don't have good personal boundaries yourself. When I was about 19, I took a bus to Vegas to visit my BF. I arrived at 6 PM. But because of crazy circumstances, my BF wasn't there to pick me up, and I couldn't call him. This was around 2002 to 2003, before cell phones really took off. I waited at that bus station for hours. While I waited, several guys would talk to me and hit on me. But one stood out the most. He seemed really nice. He was concerned for me. He felt I was being stood up and that it wasn't safe for me to hang around the station. He claimed he drove a taxi and offered to give me a ride. But I didn't know where to go. And I knew my BF was coming. I didn't want to leave. He offered to get me a room at the cheap hotel across the street so I could watch for my boyfriend through the window but be safer than out in the open. I had been waiting at that station for 5-6 hours. I was tired and hungry. I was young and naive. I agreed. He said his taxi was down at the end of the block, so we started walking in that direction. When we got far enough to be out of the light and noise of the station, I suddenly got very scared. It was suddenly dark and quiet and I was going somewhere with a man I didn't even know. I told him no, I wasn't going. My BF was coming, I'm going to wait. He tried to get me to change my mind, but I went back to the crowd. I still can't believe I almost went with him, and I shudder to think about what could have happened if I did. Maybe nothing. Maybe he was just a nice guy. But I'm glad I didn't take that chance. I'm glad you didn't either. Saw a lady with a chemtrail sweater on in public today. That's a pretty good sign. Was it just a screen printed job? Because the image in my head is a hand crocheted sweater with a chemtrail design, which would be awesome. You see them start posting about a new business opportunity to become your own boss and make easy money. They'll ask you to hang out and it will turn into a sales pitch for a pyramid scheme. If they talk about something they hate all the time, the probability is that they're a bit fonder of it than they would lead you to think. I hate X can mean I hate that I love X because I've been taught X is bad. I was walking home after work one night, and the guy on the other side of the street walking the same way as me was yelling at himself. I don't give a F if I go to jail again. I'd do it again. Yup. I went into a gas station to wait it out a bit pretty quick. I didn't want to find out what he went to jail for in the first place. What if he went to jail for accidentally killing a guy who was raping someone in a dark alley? Your gas station gambit only increased your danger. It definitely wasn't the case since he was super mad about his boss and co-workers or something like that. It's always better to be safe than sorry. And being in a gas station is safer than on the streets with barely any people or vehicles going by. I've had to go in a couple different times when someone was following me. And the cashiers were pleasantly helpful each time. When anything they ever say is something shitty about someone else. I have a co-worker who will buddy up to you and talk trash about everyone in the office. As soon as that person leaves, he'll talk trash about the person who just left. I sit outside his office and see the a-hole do this multiple times a day. Had a friend like this. Would tell me everyone's personal business. Then I figured out if she's willing to tell people's personal biz to me. What's not to say she's telling people my personal business? Turns out that was what she was doing. I hope someone calls these people out on their stupidity one day. When within the first conversation you have with them they say anything like I'm a trustworthy person. When they lie or over-exaggerate all the time to make themselves look good. So, just don't go to high school. Life is infinitely a lot better without high school being around adults who peaked in high school. Refusing to learn from their mistakes. If they don't know boundaries. Guy on my campus flipped up the hood on my jacket when I had just met him. I put it back down and told him not to touch me. He kept doing it and asked why not. Doesn't matter why. If someone tells you not to do something, don't. Few months later he got in trouble for stalking a different girl. Has now dropped out. Trust your gut. Edit. A couple people have questioned this, so let me add. I should rephrase. It's not about not comprehending social cues. I should have said pushing boundaries. There's more to this. Guy did. Flipped my hood when I'd only met him like an hour before. And kept doing it. But would stop if my guy friend was around. It wasn't playful. Got some bad vibes. Same dude later became same friend's roommate. Friend told me that creep dude had throwing knives and knives of an illegal size for our state. He'd also say the girl he stalked would get her reckoning for getting him into trouble. He would just bring her up randomly when no one had been talking about it or anything remotely related. I hate people who are like this. And they love to assert their dominance by doing exactly the thing you asked them not to. Really gets me wound up. Until one day they get their ass handed to them. That usually makes people consider how they go to that point. If they don't, I knew of someone just like that. Died after being stabbed to death in a bar fight he started. Didn't even make it to his 28th birthday or to see his kids get to school. For what? Nothing. When they tell you something they never tell anyone the very first time you talk to them. I've learned this the hard way. Emotional manipulators will draw you in with a sob story but at the same time try to make you feel special by saying they trust only you. They can never admit they are wrong. Run. But what if it's my dad? And I live with him? You can't go toe to toe with people like that. Especially when it's close family. First thing to do is within your own self. Find an emotional space in yourself where you can be comfortable knowing the truth as you see it. No matter what others say. Look up gaslighting and see how important it is to develop the skill to be silently certain in yourself. Secondly, know that you will lose many discussions with someone like this. It's rough. But find a way to make peace with it. Real peace. Calm is your key. Thirdly, know that the way you win against this kind of attitude is by actions and objects. Not words. Liars own word space because they cheat. Don't fight them there. You'll lose. Wait for those moments when you can show through action. Through the behavior of others. And with things you can touch and point to. That they're wrong. When it's proven. Make sure they've seen your proof. And just walk away. They'll start chattering and throwing words around. Not accepting. But you'll be there. Calm and complete in the knowledge of how things really are. You can't change them. They're stuck. But you can grow. Learn life skills and become free of the drama. Good luck, X. People who say, "I'm not rude. I'm just honest blunt." No, Susan. You're being a beach. There is always a nicer way to say something. When they go through friend groups faster than the average person changes a pair of socks. When they lie about the smallest things. When they are unable to feel accountable for their actions. When they lack morality and conscience and see people as objects. When they're charming at first, but toxic later on. Edit. Just saw that this was a pretty high rated comment. So I'll add some more to the list. I wouldn't necessarily claim that people like these are sociopaths. Or narcissistic or borderliners. It can definitely be the case. And you should look out for it. From my personal experience, I know that sometimes people are just very damaged and they do some ducked up stuff as a defense mechanism. To preserve themselves, such as lying. Or avoiding confrontation etc. But it could just as well be a sociopath. If you see these signs, take precaution and watch out. With people like this you should trust your gut. We subconsciously pick up on a lot of small cues, body language, voice, eye contact, and our gut will tell us something is up. If you wanna know some more, feel free to message me. I agree with you on this. I have an ex that we tried to stay friends. Hung out a few times after we broke up. Long story short, my ex wanted to duck the new girl I liked. She even said let's compete for her and see who wins. She spoke about my friend, a human, as if she were a mere object. This did it for me. This is all lesbian drama. Needless to say, we're not friends anymore. And I'm really good friends with the girl I liked after my ex. If you're texting, messaging and they ask a question, and a few moments later, if you haven't answered yet, they say something like, haha, guess not. Or okay, I guess I talk to you later. Then, especially if you've never been known to ignore someone's messages. It's a small thing, but I've seen firsthand how it opens up patterns of passive aggressiveness and manipulation. Always claiming to have the same problem you have. Only worse. Yep. The yes. But let's talk more about ME. Type of person. You think that's bad? Look at MYYYYY hemorrhoids. Best comment of the day. When a woman doesn't have custody of her kids, but the father does, I promise you stay TF away from that woman.